Welcome back to another video here on Madden 24, and today we're going to be looking at all Madden sliders for gameplay and XP, and these are what I think are the best for the game mode. Now, there's going to be things that change over time. It depends on what your roster looks like, and obviously, you're going to want to tweak those as they go on. You don't want to have like a low slider for, like, let's say QB accuracy if your team is really good at quarterback and you have a guy in the 90s. You don't want him to be missing throws that don't make sense. But basically, we're at the main menu. I should actually show you where exactly we are. We are on the settings tab, which of course we are going to click A on that. We're in the game options now. You choose your favorite team, doesn't really matter. These do help. So let's say your favorite playbook is the Buffalo Bills. You could put it here and it'll save there if you do it from the main menu or in your actual franchise from the team schemes. Even teams, all that stuff doesn't matter. But All-Madden, I know a lot of people play on All-Pro, and it's considered to be the more realistic game mode, but I like a little bit more of a challenge, so that's why I go to All-Madden instead of All-Pro. Simulation, it's still going to be somewhat tough, but you're going to still get sim style, whereas if you did want just a completely competitive situation, I don't really like this because this is more of a situation where if the ball's at least accurate, the ball is almost always caught. It's just like a less variables thing, and it just doesn't really play like real football. 10 minutes of quarter length, I think any higher, it just put up too high a stats, in my opinion. So that's why I always go with 10 minutes or lower, usually anywhere from 8 to 10. Minimum play clock, I think there used to be a threshold you wanted to keep this at, so then the AI would audible, but I put it on 20. I think anything lower than 20, they won't audible because they're forced to go to the line. This doesn't really matter. And then passing type, they obviously have the newer styles like placement and accuracy, but for me, I go in classic because A, it's not as annoying to look at, B, it's less try-hard, and C, the biggest one of them all, is that the sliders themselves are going to play the biggest factor in your accuracy, whereas if you put something like placement and accuracy on, you're going to get a much more accurate ball from even the worst of QBs, which is why I'd go with classic. Auto flip play, I have that off because it gets so annoying. You almost always choose which way you want, certain plays, especially if you're in a 3-4 to look, and it always just seems to get in the way. Defensive ball hawk you want on because otherwise you're just going to get no freaking animations. I have off for the heat seeker and defensive switch assists. I have a control player art on so you can actually see what play that you just ran, and I believe it also shows what play the AI ran or whoever your opponent is. And then coach mode I have off. I didn't even know this was a thing, but apparently when it's on, the quarterback will automatically throw the ball if you do not take control after the snap. So that'd be interesting. So would the AI just play for you then? Injuries, this is always up and down. It really depends on what you want. If you want a more real-life situation where you're going to see a lot of teams lose guys to several week injuries, you're going to want this up higher, maybe even around 20. But I'm kind of like, I want to see injuries, but I don't want my whole team to be decimated because that's half the fun is using the players you have and developing them. So I put it at 13. I would say anything lower than 20, though, is recommended, but it depends on what kind of injury situation you want to see. Fatigue at 53. I'm not really sure the exact number I should have for this. I put it just slightly higher than 50 because I feel like a lot of players don't really fatigue too much unless you're just forcing the ball into them or running the ball a lot. And then speed parity scale. This will obviously affect your, basically how much speed matters. The lower it is, the bigger separation. The reason why I don't have this any lower than 47 is while I get it, there are positions that need to be running faster than others. If you go any lower than like 45 probably, you're going to see just completely blown coverages. The linebackers aren't going to keep up because they're just too bulky. And I know it's kind of weird because you would think lower would make more sense, whereas instead it's like kind of usually locked at position type, it seems. But I just feel like more deep ball plays happen with this on that are just not covered. And in real life, you don't just get the deep ball 24/7 because someone's fast, right? Like, you do actually have to beat them. But the lower this slider is going to be, the more often those types of plays are going to happen, which is why I have it at 47. And then we go over to penalties. Offside at 55, you see that a decent bit in real life. False start, you see a decent bit. Holding probably should be higher than 60, but once again, I don't want the game to be absolutely decimated by holding calls. 60 is far high enough. Face mask at 45. Illegal block in the back at 45 because I feel like the AI gets called with that a lot, yet you don't really see that often in real life unless it's special teams. Roughing the passer at 50, I would actually debate putting this lower because the AI does, both teams really get called for roughing the passer when they get blocked into someone. So it's like more often than not, the roughing the passer call you're going to see is usually unrealistic anyways. So maybe put this at 45, but I'll keep it there. Defensive pass interference at 45, mainly because the lower the slider is, the more aggressive the defense will be on both sides, which is why I have it at 45, because I want to see aggressiveness. These all make sense. Intentional grounding is off because the AI, I don't believe, or they will throw it less away if intentional grounding is on. So more often than not, you're going to see them hold on to a ball that just makes no sense for them to not throw away with, so because they're afraid of intentional grounding. So having that off will lessen the likely of that hood of that. Roughing the kicker and running the kicker, these are sliders that need to be a little bit more kind of looked at, because a lot of times there are glitches where, once again, player dives, they land, and then while they're getting up, they somehow bump into the kicker, and it causes a penalty, which is really stupid. So if you see this happen a lot, I would just turn these both off. Now we move on to the actual sliders. Now, this is going to be different from a lot of people. Most people on All-Madden are going to have their sliders a little bit higher and the AIs a little bit lower, but I like a challenge. I have 43 for QB accuracy. I think you're going to see a lot of inaccurate throws that make sense, especially with the ratings revolving around them. Pass blocking, the AI is doing really well in pass blocking for me right now. But once again, it's going to vary on your team. If you're a team with a bottom 5 offensive line in the league, this may need to come up. Wide receiver catching, I see a lot of guys that are really undervalued or underrated in catching, or just not highly rated in catching in general, that just come up and catch every single ball. They jump ball like a god, and that's why I have this at 47. Run blocking is insane right now in the game, so I have this all the way down at a 30, because right now, no matter what my sliders are, I'm putting up for over 100 a game. Ball security at 42, which is, of course, the fumble sliders that they changed the name of. I feel like I almost never fumble as a user outside of when I'm the quarterback getting sacked, and this will be a lot higher for the AI because I feel like the AI almost always fumbles. Reaction time at 43 to pass coverage at 39. Like I said, I want a little bit more of a challenge. I actually put these even lower for myself. Interceptions at 47, because the lower the interceptions, the I believe less aggressive they'll be. If they're too high, they're going to be way too aggressive and they're going to catch everything. So this one does actually need to be lower, unlike the pass interference slider. And those are the sliders there. Tackling at 48. There's a lot of broken tackles in the NFL, and that's what I like to see reflected in the game. 50 field goal power and punt power. 44 for both of the accuracies, because I just think it's really easy to kick field goals and punts in the game, and then kick power or kickoff power at 51, because not all the time you can kick it out of the end zone, which with the rule changes you should be able to. Now we're on the CPU skill. The reason why I have the QB accuracy slider so high isn't because I think they miss so many throws, but more importantly, they make a lot of bad decisions, and this kind of counteracts a little bit the bad decisions where it's a terrible decision, should have been wide open, they didn't take it. The very next play, they hit like an absolute dime because of it. But overall, I think my completion percentage has been pretty decent with this. Pass blocking at 53, wide receiver at 53, run blocking at 60, because I feel like the AI really just kind of struggles in game for getting blocks in general. But once again, I am using the Texans as my main basis. Not the best D-line in the world, so maybe you want to see a little bit higher. Maybe you want to see a little bit lower. I don't know. Ball security at 58. I feel like hit sticks are just so easy to line up. Maybe not this Madden, but most Maddens, they were really easy to line up. So I always kept this a little bit higher because the AI fumbles all the time. Reaction time at 60. Pass coverage at 55. And then interceptions at 45, which should give you an, in general, tougher experience in coverage, which is what I like. And then tackling at 48, just like our CPU user. The AI is terrible at punting. Honestly, my suggestion for AI punts is just to sim it, because otherwise the AI is going to punt it like 30 yards at best. It's going to be a shank 9 times out of 10. So that's why I have the accuracy a little higher. Kick power, punt power a little bit higher as well, because once again, the shank, so at least the shank will be a little bit more downfield. Field goal at 50. Field goal accuracy, honestly, you could probably put it at 52. The AI does miss a lot of chip shots. And then kickoff power going to be at 54 as well. Now, the big thing you want to do with these, though, is click right analog stick in and save. I've looked at a couple of different sliders just to see, what other people are kind of rocking, and I like mine the most, but a lot of the ones I'm running here, a lot of people do run, but they're going to be a little bit lesser. QB accuracy sliders, I'm pretty sure are going to be around 45 for most people, a little bit lower. But like I said, I like the challenge, so if you like a challenge as well, which I think is half the point of playing a CPU one, these are the sliders I'm going to work with, but obviously you want to save on this side as well. It's very important to save these because a lot of the times the sliders don't actually change/work if you don't import them into a franchise, which we're going to show you how to do right now. All right, we are now in the actual franchise itself. Want to make sure that, the sliders are right with the All-Madden, change this stuff and all this stuff. If you want a more realistic experience, I would usually put the, this slider maybe around 8, cooldown around 2 probably, and then obviously turn off defensive play calling. There's a lot of base defenses and whatnot. I try to turn this off, but a lot of times it just doesn't seem to work. So I don't know if that's going to work for you or not. For this stuff, if you're actually using, you want this all to be on, and then this off, obviously. Trade deadline on, obviously. One of the big things you also want to do is pre-existing injuries off, which you have to do before the league actually starts. And then one of the big things, if I can even find it, fill roster I always keep off because otherwise they'll sign a bunch of players that you don't really want. But if you're doing a rebuild, I'd probably keep that on. And then where's the last thing? I'm trying to find it. It is somewhere in here. Where is it? There it is. Reorder depth chart. You do not want that on auto. You want it on manual. Otherwise, they're just going to, every time you add a new player to the team or somebody gets injured or whatnot, they're going to change the whole roster for you. But you do need to pay attention to that because obviously if you draft some players from the draft or you sign some free agents, they won't change anything. Even if it's clear-cut obvious, you got a 60 overall starting, they're not going to change that for you, which thankfully works because that is much more of a help than it is a harm. And then basically for sliders, all you have to do is click import sliders and whatever you were recently doing, boom, and you're cooking. You've got all your sliders. More importantly, they're here for you already, but not just that. But like I said, I feel like the sliders don't actually work when you manually change them in here. You actually need to import them from the main menu. Otherwise, it doesn't work 9 times out of 10. And then we're still not done, though. Actually, was it? I think it actually might be under... No, it's not under gameplay. It is actually under XP. But XP sliders are still kind of up in the air right now. But some of the ones that I do just to keep it as flowing as possible, I don't really change this too much, but I do a good 130 on wide receiver. If you're using the league, this is going to change. Rebuilds are different, so I would do something like this. Fullbacks don't really get XP much. 120, I can't do 125, but about 130 for the O-line, because it's a tough position upgrade. D-line's actually not the hardest, but DT sometimes is, so 120 there. About 108 for middle linebacker, about 108 there as well. Cornerback's not that hard to develop. Safety kind of is. And then kicker, punter, you can definitely up a little bit. But the problem with this is it's not that they don't get upgrade points. It's that the upgrade points are very busted. This, I haven't changed the ages. I've done the positions, though. So QB, I put back 1. Tight end, put forward 1. Fullback, back 1. Even though it's not a longevity position, but they don't need to be that athletic at their age. And then I put the kicker, punter, back 1. Everything else I keep the same. Running back, you can argue it regresses hard at 29/30 in the game. Really hard. But the guys are still usable. And once again, in real life, it is a very common sight to see that. So as far as, the regression sliders, that's what I like to do. QB accuracy or QB XP sliders, it seems very, very easy to upgrade quarterbacks this year. So I don't like to touch that. But this is basically what I'm rocking. You already seen the gameplay sliders. These age XP sliders, I don't change too much. It doesn't really matter anyways. It's more about regression because they're not going to upgrade that much at that age anyways, which I don't really change too much of this. O-line, I think, regresses perfectly fine. D-line regresses perfectly fine. Linebacker regresses perfectly fine. It's mainly just tight end doesn't regress fast enough, and then quarterback regresses too fast. That's really it. If you guys enjoy these sliders, you're going to use them yourselves. Let me know in the comment section below and maybe give it a like. Maybe subscribe to the channel as we are on our way to trying to get 100,000 subscribers. We're like, I don't even know, 9,400 off at this point, which is a long way, but also a short way in the same way. So I really appreciate you guys watching. Should be another video or two a little bit later today, and another video or two tomorrow as well. And that's about it. If there's any suggestions you have for these sliders, you're like, oh, you forgot about this, or this would be better this way, let me know in the comment section below as well, because obviously I'm only human, so I might have forgot some, I might have missed something, but overall, those are, in my opinion, the best All-Madden gameplay and XP sliders for Madden 24. That's about it, though. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys come back for next video. Maybe follow me on Twitter, Jeromepkr, second channel, PKR Plays, for non-Madden content, which we just did Starfield Part 1. But until next video, see ya!